Well, 13 years ago, I was basically living a double life, seemingly good guy by day and whatever, at nighttime or out on the road. Full-blown alcoholism, cheating on my wife, and, a raging porn addiction. And, I was fooling everybody, but I wasn't fooling myself. I started drinking when I was like 10 years old, and smoking, and and then drugs and all this other stuff. And I was probably addicted, before I was a teenager to alcohol. It was something I couldn't shake, and I found myself at even my 40th birthday begging to be able to be released from this. I tried to quit a couple of times, but I'd go a week, 2 weeks, only to fall right back into it. I felt like I couldn't go to rehab. I felt like I couldn't take a month and go away somewhere. I'd lose my business, my career, my position, all these kinds of things, because I had this double life thing going on. Nobody really knew. It was I was hitting the boundaries of social acceptability of my behavior. I pushed it to the absolute limit. But when it came time to facing up with how I was going to deal with this, I was lost. My father tried to get me involved with New Canaan Society. My dad was imploring me to go and seek fellowship in this group. And I remember prior to 2000, I had zero interest in doing it. But in early 2001, my dad died. And I remember, out of respect for him, showing up to tell all the guys that he had just died. And it was the love that these guys showed me in my moment of great loss that it was overwhelming. And I never missed another Friday meeting. And it was when these guys came around me, the running was able to stop, because I was able to address my issues, and I experienced the love of Christ. All along, I would find out that my wife had been praying for me for 13 years, that God would take away my desire for the alcohol. And after repeated attempts to try myself, I was desperate. And I said, God, if you're there for me, after all my waywardness, all I ask is that you would take away my desire for this alcohol. And in an instant, I was healed. That day, I didn't touch it again. I walked away from it. And God put me on a different path. And that was the sign of a miracle that day, that I really saw the power of God move. I saw the power of answered prayer. My heart was so full of gratitude for what God had done. I was able to, confess my betrayals to my wife. I was able to set things right with my boys and set a better example for them. Only in God's kingdom can stuff like this happen, where a resistor and a rebel and someone who's just so distant can come home, and can come home to grace and love and encouragement, and guys who make the decision to show up in your life happily. And it's like a match to gas. It's an explosion that just rocks your world. And it rocked my world. It changed my world. And that call that I recognized to show up for others, it just became real, and it just became a passion.